Something grows on dead trees in forests across North America and Europe. It requires no soil, no water, no feed, no sunlight. When you slice it open, the flesh is white and firm. When you cook it, it shreds into fibers. It tastes like chicken. The global meat industry makes $1.4 trillion a year. They know it exists. And at the end of this video, you will know exactly what it is, where it grows, and why no one in that industry wants you to find out. Hi, I am Harry, and this is Garden Explained with Harry. Picture a forest in late September. Oak trees, some standing dead, some fallen and half buried in leaf litter. The air smells like damp wood and soil. And then you see it. Bright orange and sulfur yellow shelves growing in overlapping fans from the side of a trunk. No roots underneath, no stem connecting it to the ground. Just wood, moisture, and time produced this. The shelves are thick, some as wide as a dinner plate. Some clusters weigh more than 20 kilograms. They look almost tropical against the gray bark, like someone painted them there. Now take one home, set it on a cutting board, slice through the outer edge where the flesh is youngest and most tender. The inside is white, dense. It pulls apart in strands the way slow-cooked poultry does. Put a cast iron skillet on medium heat. Add butter. Lay the slices flat. Listen to them sizzle. The edges crisp and turn golden brown. The interior stays moist and soft. The smell filling your kitchen is not mushroom. It is something closer to roasted chicken skin with a faint sweetness underneath. Put it on a plate next to an actual chicken breast. Ask someone to taste both without telling them which is which. Foragers across 3 continents have run this test for generations. Most people cannot tell the difference. This is not a marketing gimmick from a Silicon Valley startup. This is a sensory reality that human beings have known about for hundreds of years. On a dry weight basis, Laetoporus contains valuable dietary protein, all 9 essential amino acids, minimal fat, 0 cholesterol, and immune-supporting beta-glucans. While its fibrous, strand-like texture mimics poultry, fresh whole Laetoporus is roughly 80 to 90% water. Thus, on a wet, fresh weight basis, its protein density, approximately 2 to 3 grams per 100 grams, is significantly lower than dense cooked chicken breast, approximately 30 grams per 100 grams. Never eat Laetoporus raw. It must be thoroughly cooked for at least 15 to 20 minutes to break down chitin and toxic thermolabile proteins. Additionally, roughly 5 to 10% of the population experiences severe gastrointestinal distress with nausea, vomiting, or cramping, or allergic reactions from Laetoporus, especially specimens harvested from conifer trees, such as hemlock, pine, or fir, or eucalyptus. Beginners should consume a small, well-cooked portion first and wait 24 hours, and all of it grew on a dead log in the woods without a single dollar of input. But the protein is not even the part that should concern the meat industry. The part that should terrify them is how this organism reproduces. The name is chicken of the woods. Scientifically, it belongs to a group called Laetoporus. Several species exist. The most common in North America is Laetoporus sulphureus. It grows on oaks. It grows on cherry trees. It grows on beech, eucalyptus, and willow. It has been found on every continent except Antarctica. This is not a rare organism hiding in some remote jungle. It is common, widespread, abundant, and it has been hiding in plain sight for longer than any civilization on Earth. Here is how it works. A single fungal network colonizes a dead or dying tree. The mycelium, the invisible root structure of the fungus, spreads through the wood. It breaks down cellulose and lignin. It converts dead timber into living biomass. And then it fruits. Every year, sometimes multiple times a year in warmer climates. Massive shelves erupt from the bark. One flush from a single tree can produce 20 to 45 kilograms of edible food. That is not a typo. 45 kilograms from one tree, without replanting, without feeding, without watering. The mycelium stays alive inside the wood for years, sometimes decades. One colonization event produces harvests for a generation. Think about that. A chicken lives 8 weeks in a climate-controlled building. It eats commercially manufactured feed every day of those 8 weeks. It drinks water pumped through industrial systems. It receives antibiotics to survive the density of its housing. Then it is slaughtered, processed, refrigerated, packaged, and shipped. The water footprint alone is roughly 4,300 liters per kilogram of chicken meat produced. This mushroom requires a dead oak tree and rain. German foragers have harvested it for centuries. They call it Schwefelporling. In the Appalachian mountains of the American South, families have been frying it in cast iron skillets since before the Civil War. They called it chicken mushroom and served it with cornbread and greens. Across Eastern Europe, mushroom hunters know it on sight. In Poland, in Ukraine, in the Czech Republic, grandmothers have cooked it in soups and stews for as long as anyone can remember. In parts of Japan and China, related species appear in traditional kitchens. Indigenous peoples across North America used it as food long before European settlers arrived. This is not a discovery. This is a remembering. 500 years of culinary tradition across dozens of cultures. And somehow, in the age of information, most people in the Western world have never heard of it. The reason is not complicated. It is not conspiracy. It is math. The global meat industry generates $1.4 trillion annually. Chicken alone accounts for $360 billion. The entire business model depends on one principle. The product is consumed and gone. You must buy more. Every week, every grocery trip, every meal, the consumer returns to the store and purchases again. That is how the system works. That is how feed companies profit. That is how slaughterhouses stay open. That is how cold chain logistics firms bill their clients. That is how shareholders see returns. Repeat purchase, the engine of the entire operation. Now consider an organism that returns from the same dead tree every single year without a single dollar of input. No feed to buy, no water bill, no veterinary costs, no slaughter facility, no refrigerated truck, no packaging line, no barcode. A family in rural Virginia can inoculate 3 oak logs in their backyard and harvest chicken substitute protein every autumn for the next 5 to 8 years. Nothing in that transaction generates revenue for anyone except the family eating the food. This is why the meat industry does not talk about it. Not because they are running a secret suppression campaign. Because there is no economic mechanism that rewards them for acknowledging it. You do not spend marketing dollars promoting something that eliminates the need for your product. But the meat industry is only half the story. The other half is even more revealing. Right now, venture capital firms are pouring hundreds of millions of dollars into companies that grow fungi in steel fermentation tanks. A company called Miati Foods raised over $150 million to grow mycelium in bioreactors and shape it into steak and chicken substitutes. A company called Nature's Find raised nearly $500 million to ferment a microbe discovered in a Yellowstone hot spring. A British company called Enough raised more than $100 million to produce mycoprotein at industrial scale. The brand Quorn built a billion-dollar business on a single fungal species grown in factory conditions. Every one of these companies depends on proprietary technology. Patented strains, licensed fermentation processes, controlled environments, intellectual property that can be protected, funded, and scaled into quarterly earnings reports. Chicken of the woods already grows itself, on logs, in forests, in backyards. No bioreactor needed, no proprietary strain, no licensing fee, No patent protection possible. You cannot patent a wild organism that has been fruiting on oak trees for millions of years, and that is the problem. Not for you, for them. Search any major medical research database. Type in mycoprotein fermentation. You will find hundreds of published studies, nutrition profiles, safety assessments, digestibility trials. Now type in Letiporus sulphureus nutrition. You will find a handful, maybe a few dozen. The ratio is staggering. Not because the wild mushroom is less nutritious, not because it is less safe, not because it is less interesting to science, because it cannot be owned. Research follows funding. Funding follows patents. Patents require control over the organism. A mushroom that grows wild on dead trees in public forests cannot be controlled. So the funding goes elsewhere, and the research follows the funding, and the knowledge gap persists. Walk into any grocery store in America tonight. You will find chicken breast in the refrigerated section. You will find corn in the freezer aisle. You might find Beyond Meat or Impossible Burger on an end cap display. You will not find chicken of the woods, not fresh, not frozen, not dried, not canned. The organism that most closely replicates the taste and texture of chicken, the one that does it without factories or animals or venture capital, is completely absent from the place where consumers actually make their food decisions. And then there is the name itself, chicken of the woods. Say it out loud. It sounds like something a hiking guide mentions on a nature walk. It sounds recreational, folksy, unserious. Now say mycoprotein. That sounds investable. That sounds like something a venture capitalist writes a check for. That sounds like a slide in a pitch deck. The naming frames perception. One name invites foraging. The other invites funding rounds. The industry chose the name that generates capital. But economics only explain why the system looks the other way. They do not change what the organism actually is. And what it is something you can grow yourself. Chicken of the woods fruits naturally in temperate forests across North America, Europe, and parts of East Asia. It appears from late spring through autumn, depending on climate. It grows on standing dead trees and fallen logs, primarily oaks, but also other hardwoods. When fresh, the bright orange and yellow shelves are distinctive. While mature Letiporus sulphureus on hardwoods has few direct toxic lookalikes, beginners must distinguish it from the toxic jack-o'-lantern mushroom, Omphalotus illudens, which possesses true gills underneath rather than pores, grows in clumps with central stems, and causes severe poisoning, and avoid old, decaying, or insect-infested Letiporus brackets, which breed bacterial contaminants, Pseudomonas species, that cause severe food poisoning. But you do not need to forage. You can cultivate it at home. Take fresh hardwood logs. Oak is ideal. Cut them to manageable lengths, roughly a meter long and 10 to 20 centimeters in diameter. Purchase Letiporus spawn from a specialty mushroom supplier. Drill holes in the logs. Pack the spawn in. Seal with wax. Stack the logs in a shaded, moist area of your yard. Under trees is perfect. Along a north-facing fence works. Keep them damp during dry spells. Then wait. The mycelium colonizes the wood over months, slowly, invisibly, working through the grain, breaking down dead cellulose, converting waste into food. Fruiting begins within 1 to 2 years. Once established, those logs produce annually for 5 to 8 years. No feed to buy, no soil to amend, no irrigation system to install. Shade, moisture, and patience. That is the entire input list. One inoculated log can produce several kilograms of edible mushroom per fruiting. A small stack of 10 logs in a shaded corner of a yard produces enough to meaningfully offset what you spend on chicken at the grocery store every year. The spawn costs less than a single package of organic chicken breast at most supermarkets. The logs are free if you have access to fallen hardwood after a storm. After inoculation, the only remaining input is time. And when the harvest comes in, you have options. Slice it fresh and sauté in butter with garlic and salt. The simplest preparation and the one that makes people question whether they are eating mushroom or meat. Freeze the cooked slices for months of storage. Dehydrate the raw pieces and keep them shelf-stable in glass jars for a year or more. Grind the dried mushroom into powder for protein supplementation, seasoning, or soup bases. No cold chain required, no industrial processing. A dehydrator, a few jars, and a shelf in the pantry. The pattern is the same one that appears with every organism this channel has ever covered. A free, self-sustaining food source that requires no annual purchase, no corporate supply chain, no patented technology, no repeat transaction. The system that profits from selling you food has no mechanism to profit from food that grows itself on dead wood in your backyard. So the system looks the other way. The research databases stay thin, the grocery store shelves stay empty, the venture capital flows into steel fermenters and proprietary strains and pitch decks with hockey stick growth charts, and the mushroom keeps fruiting every autumn from the same log. Whether anyone in a boardroom pays attention or not, it does not need investors. It does not need a marketing budget. It does not need a brand name or a nutrition label or a barcode. It needs a dead tree and rain. It has been doing this for longer than the meat industry has existed, longer than agriculture has existed, longer than human civilization has existed. The mycelium was breaking down wood and building protein before the first human being ever walked upright. And it is still there, still fruiting, still converting dead trees into something that tastes like chicken. Still waiting in every oak forest on this continent for someone to walk up and take what it is offering. The $1.4 trillion industry built on killing animals cannot compete with an organism that does the same job for free. They know it. Now you know it too.